Real Madrid. Incredible backheel assist from Karim Benzema. Sid, we've talked about Messi dependencia. We've heard Ronaldo dependency. Does Madrid have a Benzema dependency now?
Well, they do in the sense that this is a player that doesn't get rotated. He starts every game while the rest of the forward line gets shifted almost every match. Brilliant this season. He's started to perform, I think, importantly in the really big matches as well, which perhaps was one of the criticism that could have been levelled at him before. He's taken responsibility on. He's a wonderful footballer. He brings others into play. He's been really, really important. I guess we don't yet know whether they have Benzema dependency because we haven't seen them without him, and we haven't seen how they would struggle without him performing, because actually, unlike with Messi, when he hasn't been at his best this year, other players have sometimes stepped up. So we've seen good performances, for example, from Vinicius. We've had moments from Rodrigo. We've had good performances from the midfielders. I think if you had to choose a best player in the Real Madrid team this year, you'd have a choice between maybe Casemiro, maybe Cruz, maybe Benzema, maybe Ramos. And so there's 4 players there. If you had a choice in the Barcelona team, apart from the goalkeeper, and of course the goalkeeper is always, if you like, a different case, it is Messi and nobody else. So in that sense, the dependency on Messi, I think, is still greater than the dependence that Real Madrid have on Karim Benzema.
Jules, he's so good right now, inarguably one of the best players in the world, yet it seems so unlikely that he'll ever play again for the French national team. Does that frustrate you?
Yeah, I find it frustrating. I understand why Didier Deschamps has made that call, and we all know the off-the-field issues that Karim had with Mathieu Valbuena in the last 4 years. Could Deschamps moves on? Could he move on? Sorry, and bring him back? Maybe, but this is a team that won the World Cup without Karim Benzema, and if you bring Benzema in, you need to change a lot of things that has been working so well for them. So it's a tricky one. I get that. I just think it's crazy, really crazy, to prevent yourself from having such a talent in your team, whatever team you're managing. And I think Deschamps must sometimes think, God, he still would be good to have him in our squad, which I think is true. I mean, this season I think he's incredible. He will be 33 in December. And for me, he's had the assist of the season, as we saw this weekend, and the goal of the season, as we saw against Valencia as well. And for someone like him, I think it's just wonderful.
Back to Real Madrid real quick, Sid. Eden Hazard, I mean, this is a player we were told was in amazing shape. He was going to make the difference over this stretch run. It doesn't seem to be the case. How do you explain it?
No, it doesn't seem to be the case. I suppose I explain it partly by thinking that maybe that some of what we were told about the shape he was in and the excitement was wishful thinking. Partly maybe he was performing well in training but hasn't been able to apply that in games. I feel a little bit like this season is a write-off, and maybe the question is how he can come back in the summer, whether he can be fully fit for his second season and a season where he's fully fit all the way through, because of course he's had injuries and those haven't been his fault, and there's been a couple of times when it's looked like he was going to play really well and it just kind of hasn't quite happened. So I don't think it's time to give up on his Real Madrid career, but maybe this season. Although that said, you know, we're still talking about 6 games left in La Liga, and basically the key games in the Champions League still to be played. Imagine he has just 2 great games in Champions League, say a quarter-final and a semi-final, or a semi-final and a final, and I think we'll look back on this season and say, yeah, that was worth it.
That's the thing, Jules. It really would only take something special in that Champions League that everybody's going to be watching, and we'll forget the struggles of Eden Hazard, won't we?
Yes, you're right, and I think he's got that in him. We saw against Valencia already, a lot of brilliance for him in that game. Him and Benzema, the way they're linking up, they get on very well off the pitch as well. They're very good friends, and you could feel it's not that far, but maybe the lack of fitness that he didn't have earlier in the season is sort of catching up a bit, or he's a bit struggling because of that. But you could tell it's not far, and you're right. In the Champions League against Man City, for example, in that second leg, whenever that happened, wherever that happened, he could have that moment of brilliance that qualifies his team. Same in the remaining 6 games of La Liga as well. He could have a decisive action, movement, goal, assist at some point that will tip the La Liga towards Real Madrid and win it for them. So I still think that Zidane believes a lot in him, and I think everybody still should, because he was very unlucky with injuries, very unlucky in a way with the pandemic arriving, although that enabled him to still be playing now. Otherwise, he would have missed the end of the season. So I still think we could expect and probably will see more good moments from Eden Hazard between now and the end of the season.
Sid, one more bit of transfer news involving Real Madrid. Achraf Hakimi reportedly going to be sold to Inter Milan. This is one of the best young right backs in the world. He's 21 years old. Why wouldn't Real Madrid hold on to this player?
Yeah, I think it is difficult to find an answer to that. I guess the answer resides in the fact that Dani Carvajal is still young enough and consistent enough to know that he's going to be first choice. And then, of course, you have to look at it, I think, through the perspective of the player himself. And Achraf has probably looked at that and thought, I'm not going to be guaranteed minutes. I'm not going to be guaranteed to be a starter. And that right now is what I want. And so when you reach that position, and of course, Real Madrid, yeah, they can force him to stay, but there's really not a lot of sense in doing so. And I guess you reach the point where you decide, okay, the best thing to do is to get a good deal for him now, to get the money, and to part on good terms. And who knows, maybe he comes back one day. But as we understand it, there's unlikely to be a buyback option. So this is the end. And I must confess, I think, seen from Spain at least, it's a real pity.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.